We're gonna invite Mr. Rodney Smith. He is an independent, and he's independent. And I'm gonna tell you something. He can win if we get behind him. He can't win if we don't. He is one of the few politicians willing to talk about the black agenda and to come on here and let us know what his thoughts are about us. So, without any further ado, Mr. Rodney Smith, welcome to the Black Book.
Hey, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your show. Actually, I appreciate you having the show where we can talk about black business, which is a part of the black agenda. Uh, when people talk about here black agenda, they think that this is something that's going to only impact one group. And the reality of it is since this country has been here, black people have always enhanced the country. And every time something has been done that has improved the condition of black people, it has improved the condition of all people. I mean, we can just go back to the fact that most people have their wealth today because of black people. People have the right to vote, everybody, because of black people. Women's suffrage came about because the abolitionists moved from doing that to women's suffrage. So, and the list goes on and on and on, whether we're talking about the LGBT community, whether we're talking about the immigrants and migrant workers, it doesn't make a difference. Whoever you are in America, you are and have what you have because of black people. So the black agenda really is the American agenda. I like to tell people that to a certain extent, America is lucky to have black people in multiple ways. One of those ways is, unfortunately for us, luckily for them, we tend to be the canary in the coal mine. Whatever happens to America happens to us first.
Al, you're right.
Whether we're talking about drugs, I mean, remember the crack epidemic? Now we have the opioid epidemic. It's a national emergency. Well, maybe if they would have put things in place to take care of the crack epidemic, we wouldn't be having the opioid epidemic. We have a high rate of unemployment in this country affecting black and browns, but predominantly is impacting African Americans. Folks talk about an increase in the minimum wage, and they say, well, why is it that you want to talk about black people? Well, if there's an increase in minimum wage, it actually increases wages for everyone. It just so happens that the folks who are most impacted by it are us. I looked at a statistic just this weekend, and it was talking about the average cost just to be able to live in a house, to rent something. And you would have to make about $18 an hour to have just a decent place to stay here in Nevada. That is outrageous considering that the minimum wage is half of that. So there are issues out there that we have been talking about as a community for decades. I mean, since I was a little child, and we're still talking about those issues. What I would suggest to everyone, if we want to get past the point of just talking about it and being impacted about it, that we're going to have to come up with an agenda that focuses on empowering us, giving us access to capital, not just access to capital though, but giving us the capital, giving us opportunities at those business contracts to be primes, even to be subs. Is there a black bank here
No.
in Nevada? We know that historically, African American financial institutions lend money to African American businesses. As a matter of fact, if you look around where there are black banks, you will see black businesses thrive. So one of the things that I would say that we need to do here in Las Vegas, in Nevada, is we need to get a black financial institution here, whether it is a credit union and or a bank. We need to have that here. We need to have it in our community so that we can get those loans at a good rate. Because it's one thing that sometimes we may get the loan, but the rate of interest on that loan is higher than everyone else, even if we have the same financial literacy, same financial background. There's so many things that we can do, but we have to have an agenda so that we can tell it to our politicians, those people who want our vote, and then we can hold them accountable. We cannot afford, and our children, and especially our grandchildren, cannot afford the bankrupt policies that are impacting this community. And the reason why I say bankrupt is look around and tell me how many new black businesses How many successful black businesses do you see? How many black home developments do you see? We have black construction companies here. Maybe it takes us to let our elected officials know that we want to give those companies opportunities to build right here in our community. Affordable housing is coming to a crisis rate, and of course, that happens to impact black people more than anyone else. We have got to do something, but we have to do it now. We really can't wait because our children sure won't be too happy with us if we do.
Great, great. And folks, I want you to think about something. This man is coming in. He's a veteran. He served the country. He's not doing this because he wants to make a name for himself. He's doing it because he saw a need. He saw the community needing somebody who wanted to come in that was different from what we have. And I commend him because I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if I do it. I'm not. I truly tell you that I know where my lane is, and it's not politics, but I will talk about politics. Rodney, obviously, social justice is a very, very big point in the black community. It's funny. I've seen some of the women's groups now talking about the increased incarceration of women, but it's actually black women probably more than anybody else. But the bottom line is we do have problems, mass incarceration. We do have still problems of African American men being killed or beaten in the street for minor incidents from the police. So give us your opinion on some of these issues as they pertain to the black community and social justice.
Well, Brian, before I do that, you mentioned that you might not run. And let me tell you, this was not an ambition that I grew up having. I served my country wearing its uniform for 26 years. So I thought I did my time, I did my service. But it was when I got out of the military, when I got more active in the local community, that I saw that there was a need. And, you know, when we joined the military, we take an oath. And it's really one of the few oaths that I've ever taken. And a part of that oath is it says that we defend this country from enemies both foreign and domestic. And some of the policies that are impacting our community almost makes it seem like that there's an enemy out there that's attacking us. And maybe there is an enemy that's attacking us. And somebody needs to defend that just as fervently as when I wore this country's uniform and protected us from enemies foreign and overseas. I also have a granddaughter. And when I look into her eyes, and she's looking so happily, and she's looking towards me because she needs everything from me. And then I think about what is her opportunity to have a life similar to what I have, to what we have. As a little black boy growing up in the Jim Crow South, I had a greater opportunity for future success than folks who grow up in Las Vegas or any place else in this country that looks like you and me. And that cannot stand any longer, nor can I sit and enjoy the wonderful life that I'm blessed with, knowing that she may not have that same opportunity as I did as a little black boy in the Jim Crow South. We can do better. It's not saying that the folks who have been in office haven't done anything. What I'm saying is that we have to do more because we are losing faster than we are gaining. And with an attrition rate like that, it won't be long before we will be powerless, we will be broke, and then the potential future for our children and especially our grandchildren, it simply just won't exist.
And I think we need change because some of the politicians have been in office so long that sometimes they forget what the mission is for the people in the community. And so I think it's time that we get new blood in office, new change, people that's going to stand up for the community and really help the community.
And I'm going to take it even a step further. We've been bamboozled again, I love to use that word, into believing that we have only two, Republican or Democrat. And I say that because I am an independent black voter. I may lean Democrat, but unless they start leaning back to me, you can't use Trump the boogeyman. You need to be able to talk about the issues pertaining to us. And that's what Rodney's willing to stand up and do as an independent, is saying, hey, there is a third alternative. And guess what? The same folks who didn't believe, who looked like us, who didn't believe that Obama would never win, found out that he won. And it started with nickels and dimes and dollars and quarters, but people sent him dollars to help him keep going and running. So one of the things I'm going to ask you, if you like what you hear and you like what Rodney's doing, consider supporting his candidacy financially, because guess what? We cannot continue to give no dollars to our politicians and then complain because the PACs tell them what to do. The PACs tell them what to do because they bring money along with what they want you to do. Well, if we want to take back our communities and to take back our legislators, we have to support those legislators who are committing to come in and listen to the people first. So, Rodney, back to you.
So you asked me about social justice. Most of the times, what black people want, and like any other American want, is we don't want to be treated less than. We don't want to have two sets of rules, one set for other people and then another set of rules that's applicable to us. You know, we don't want to have to go with driving while black. That should not exist. If you have some type of infraction on the highways and roadways, it should be because of that infraction. You shouldn't be stopped because you're black. There shouldn't be walking while black. In other words, the cops stop you, the police officers stop you simply because you're black. And when it comes to sentencing, that needs to be equal as well. As an example, we have a young woman-to-be here in Las Vegas, and she was bullied in school. And she went to the school resources that were available to the adults for help. They didn't give her help. This went on for 3 years, and it's documented. Now, the young lady, like anyone else, she got to a breaking point. And she did something that she shouldn't have done, to be honest. And she put some comments out about doing harm to a school. And, you know, we have an environment today where that's very sensitive. But it doesn't change the fact that she did not do it, and she was bullied and didn't get any type of relief from anyone else. Now, this young woman, not only did she get arrested, but she got charged with felony. She got charged with a terrorist act. Now, there's people who have killed tens, 20, many people in this country. Now, they didn't get charged with terrorism. The only thing that we could determine is it's that those folks happen not to look like us.
We're held to the letter of the law and we're used as the example far too many times.
Yeah, it's like being on the 1 yard line. You have 4 sets of downs. And then next thing you know, someone up at the top puts you back 20 yards, takes away 3 of your downs, and you're not at the 1 yard line getting ready to score. Every time black people get to that point, there's always some kind of change in the rules. So knowing that and looking at the situation that we have, Rodney, and knowing, like Claude Anderson said, that, you know, we were a protected class in this country, but somehow the politicians got involved who may or may not have had our best interests at heart and started changing it to minority. And all of a sudden, people with disabilities, and, you know, I respect the people with disabilities. I'm glad that the sidewalks were put in for people who are wheelchair bound. I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative that the LGBTQ A through Z gets rights, but the rights should not be on the back of black people. So my question is to you, should we be pushing towards not only the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, but pushing towards getting a title of a protected class exclusively for black people that cannot be touched by minority or by people who are humpbacks or midgets or such and such, and etc. I mean, that's the way Claude Anderson describes it. So, and you know, it's for emphasis, but that's the question.
Especially in the business sector, like here in Nevada, where they count minority and we end up with very little of the fruits.
So the answer to the question is because of the plight of African Americans, of black people in America today, there should be a protected class designator